All right, cadets, take your seats. I will be your military instructor for this evening. Today, we will be discussing the Battle of the Bulge, or for those of you who did your assigned reading will know it as the Ardennes Offensive. Now, by December of 1944, the Allies have managed to liberate most of France, Belgium, and Luxembourg. They pushed the Germans back to a series of defenses the Germans called the Western Wall. Behind this wall was native German soil, and they were not going to give it up easy. On the Eastern Front, the Soviets had entered native Germany and began a campaign of brutal retaliation against the German people. Hitler knew that if he was to stop the Soviets, he must first knock out the Western Allies. To do this, he concocted a plan to cut through the Ardennes, encircle 4 Allied armies, and recapture the crucial supply port of Antwerp. Once he had done this, he would use the captured soldiers as leverage, negotiate a separate peace with the Western Allies, refocus his attention to the East, and win the war. The Allies, for their part, were completely unprepared. It'd be up to desperate, small unit actions to hold the line and give Allied command enough time to mount a counterattack. Today, in our lecture, we will be discussing 3 men. 1, a young lieutenant on the northern shoulder of the attack. Then we will shift our focus to the besieged city of Bastogne and their 2 embattled commanders. The Battle of the Bulge was one of the largest engagements in the European theater during the Second World War. It was a story of heroic triumph and tragic sacrifice. For us in our lecture today, our story begins in the frozen plains of Belgium. My name is Lieutenant Laprock, 394th Infantry, 99th Division. I was in command of a small recon platoon of 15 men outside the Belgian city of Lazare, when, on December 16, 1944, over 500 German paratroopers came down the road towards us. To make matters worse, our tank support up and left us, leaving us totally alone and outnumbered 33 to 1. I asked command to withdraw, but they told me to stay, so I ordered my men to dig in the side of a hill and we waited for the enemy. The fighting was brutal, I'll never forget it. Towards the end, we were outflanked and out of ammunition. I ordered the surrender and a German jumped in my foxhole and shot me in the leg. When it was all said and done, though, we held the Germans there for 18 hours despite the odds, and inflicted 93 casualties upon the enemy. Buying the rest of the 99th Infantry crucial time, but I'll never forgive myself for surrendering. I joined the Army in 14 and became an officer at 20. And on my first combat mission, I got all of my men captured. I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life. Regardless, though, I'm hopeful. This may sound superstitious, but when I was little, I had an aunt in Louisiana. Ooh. She read my palm once and she said, "Lyle, if you live past the age of 21, you'll live a long and happy life." Well, yesterday was my birthday. I made it. Anyways, I need to be back to my men. It was nice talking to you all. God bless. My name is Heinrich von Lutwitz, commander of the 47th Panzer Corps, and I am a proud German. I can trace my family lineage back to the 14th century. I come from a long line of soldiers. Myself, this is not my first World War. Since 1914, I enlisted as a private in the German army, and now, since 1944, I command an entire German armored unit. The Führer's plan is simple. We shall do as we've done in countless wars, cut through the Ardennes, encircle the Allies, and win the war. My men are part of the southern flank of the attack, here. We have surrounded a small, insignificant unit of American paratroopers in the city of Bastogne. Bastogne is a key point, and once we've captured it, we'll have access to the entirety of the southern flank. To stop the fighting, I directed this letter to be given to the American commander of Bastogne. Be sure that he gets it, and tell him it is the only way to save his men. My name is General McAlphy, commander of the 101st Airborne of Bastogne. Believe you have a letter for me? Well, nuts! The Germans are asking us to surrender. To tell you the truth, when I first read this letter, I assumed the Germans are asking to surrender to us. The Germans must think us crazy to think we're going to surrender at this crucial moment. If the Germans are allowed to take Bastogne, they'll access the entirety of our southern flank. If the Germans are allowed to reach the Meuse River, this war is over. I suppose my initial remark summarized it quite well, didn't it? Nuts. Let that be my reply. Nuts. And if the German commander asks for clarification, you can tell him that we will kill every German that enters this city. Now, Christmas is coming up, and my staff and I have drafted a letter to give to the men and congratulate them on their heroic efforts despite our mounting situation. I'd like to read part of it to you this evening. To the 101st Airborne, Merry Christmas. What is merry about all this, you may ask? We are cold, it is fighting, we are fighting all true. But what is the members of the proud Eagle Division and the worthy comrades, the 10th Armored, 705th Tank Destroyer Battalion, and all the rest accomplished? Just this. We have stopped cold, everything to the north, south, east, and west of us. Strong German units were heading to key points when the proud Eagle Division was sent in to stop them. How effectively this was done will go down in history. Not alone in our division's glorious history, but in world history. Allied troops are counterattacking in force. We will continue to hold Bastogne. By holding Bastogne, we will assure the success of the Allied armies. We are truly making for ourselves and our families back home a worthy present, being privileged to take part in this gallant feat of arms, and truly making for ourselves a Merry Christmas. Signed, McAlphy, Commander. The 101st Airborne will hold Bastogne for 7 days before being relieved by Patton's Third Army, despite shortages of food, weapons, ammunition, and with practically no medical supplies. It was thanks to heroic efforts like the ones of Lieutenant Lyle Brock, the 101st Airborne, and countless others, that the Germans were eventually stalled and rolled back. When the Germans retreated back across the line on January 25th, 1945, they were so exhausted of both men and materials that they could not stop the Allies from liberating most of Denmark, Norway, Austria, and most of Western Germany, liberating millions of people from both fascist occupation and saving them from the brutal communist onslaught. However, this rapid advance would lead to the East and West divide in Central Europe, and would divide Europe into capitalists and communists for the better part of 40 years. Luttwitz's beloved homeland of Germany will be reunited in 1991. Despite the many triumphs of the Battle of the Bulge, it came at great cost. Thousands of soldiers would die in one of the worst winters in European history. Men froze to death in their foxholes. Many would die frozen and alone, thousands of miles away from their loved ones. Others would be lost in the snow, and their remains only recovered in the spring. Others, like Lieutenant Loudbrock, would be captured and interned and left to wither away and die in brutal German POW camps. When the battle ended on January 25th, 1945, over 10,000 American soldiers were laid dead, and alongside them, 12,000 Germans. Today, it is important to remember their stories, for forgetting the sacrifices of our ancestors would be the greatest tragedy of all. That will be all for today's lecture. Cadets, dismissed.